The night I almost ruined my life started with a knock that wasn't on my door. My name is THURSTON JOYNER. I was born and raised in West Philadelphia.
Welcome to the Trudgery, a zone for true horror stories, disturbing encounters, and twisted tales that were never meant to be heard. Until now.
The night I almost ruined my life started with a knock that wasn't on my door. My name is THURSTON JOYNER. I was born and raised in West Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I make my living painting other people's walls, legal ones now mostly. I do tapestries, murals, and lettering in colors loud enough to drown out the noise in my head. I'm a fun guy. Light-hearted, the type who laughs at his own jokes and believes tomorrow will sort itself out. That's how I convinced myself I was ready for love. Grace was steady in a way I wasn't. She noticed details, cracks in sidewalks, how my hands shook when I lied. I loved her fast and clumsy. When she told me she was pregnant, her voice careful, like she was holding glass. Something in me came undone. I hugged her. I said the right things. Inside, I felt the walls closing in. I didn't know how to be a man yet. I knew how to be a boy with a backpack full of spray cans and a head full of ideas. Responsibility felt like a wet blanket over a fire. Instead of facing it, I did what I'd always done when life got loud. I went looking for novelty. It started innocent. Late night walks, new walls, new faces, old habits I'd sworn were behind me. I told myself I needed inspiration. I told myself Grace wouldn't notice the distance because I was still physically there. But absence has a sound. It's quiet and it echoes. One night I drove out past the neighborhoods I knew. I followed a tip about an abandoned factory near the river, supposedly untouched, supposedly perfect. The kind of place that made your heart race before you even parked. Inside, the air smelled like rust and damp concrete with hints of regret. My footsteps sounded too loud. I kept painting anyway, chasing that first hit feeling. New colors, new risk, novelty. That's when I heard movement that wasn't mine. I froze, listened, told myself it was rats, wind, an old building, making noise. Then a voice spoke my name. Not shouted, not whispered. Said like it had known me longer than I'd known myself.
Thurston.
I spun around, heart pounding, paint dripping from my glove. A man stood at the far end of the room, half lit by moonlight through broken windows. He looked normal, too normal. My age, same build, same stance, same face. He smiled like he'd been waiting. He started talking about freedom, about how Grace would weigh me down, about how fatherhood was a trap men like us weren't built for. He said art needs chaos. He said commitment kills creativity. He said everything I'd been telling myself, but better. I couldn't move. My legs felt sunk into the floor. The longer he talked, the more I realized he wasn't offering advice. He was offering permission. Then he stepped closer, and I noticed something wrong. His eyes didn't blink, not once. And when he laughed, it sounded like it came from behind me. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in bad choices and worse timing. But standing there, I understood something terrifying. Temptation doesn't come as a monster. It comes as you. It's a lie told in your own voice. He reached out, and for a second, I swear I saw my hands already reaching back. Instead, I backed away. I ran. I didn't stop until I was in my car. Doors locked, shaking so hard I couldn't get the key in the ignition. I drove straight home. Dawn was breaking. Grace was asleep on the couch, one hand on her stomach. I sat on the floor and cried quietly so I wouldn't wake her. That morning, I wrote this in my sketchbook, shaking ink across the page. I manufacture my own unrest. Novelty fades and leaves me left with me. I will never be satisfied until I look within. It felt like a confession and a warning. I started reading about why people self-sabotage when life gets real. There's an old parable about a man who keeps trading homes because he gets bored. Bigger house, new view, better street, until he realizes he's dragging the same broken foundation everywhere he goes. Novelty isn't growth, it's delay. I told Grace everything, not the man in the factory. How do you explain that without sounding insane? I told her about the distance, the fear, the selfishness. She didn't forgive me right away. She shouldn't have. I changed anyway. Not with promises, with actions, therapy, showing up, turning down late nights, choosing boring when boring meant safe, realizing it was actually serenity all along. Change is more than words. Change is an action verb. Years later, I went back to that factory with a city crew. It was being demolished. I walked through the same room. No footsteps, no voice, just dust and daylight. Maybe nothing supernatural happened. Maybe stress, guilt, and fear made a mirror talk back to me. That's the scariest part. It doesn't matter, because I know this. If I had followed him, whoever he was, I would have lost everything real, chasing something that only felt alive. And if you think temptation is a game you can win, you're already closer to losing than you think. The night I learned how quiet a house can scream, I was already unlocking the door. My name is KAYLEE MCINTYRE, and for 5 years I poured drinks under neon lights in Lubbock, Texas. I learned how to read men by the way they held a glass. I learned who wanted a story, who wanted a fight, and who wanted to be forgotten. I used to think that skill would keep me safe. I was wrong. I didn't start out jaded. That came later. After Ray, the no-good mechanic with the oil-stained hands and a way too easy smile. He got my best friend pregnant while he was still sleeping in my bed. When the truth came out, it felt like the floor tilted. After that, I kept my heart behind the bar with the top shelf bottles, visible but never within reach. Then there was Clay, loud, charming in public, cruel in private. The kind of man who treated attention like oxygen and rage like a hobby. I dated him because he felt familiar, and familiarity can be a trap dressed as comfort. When Percy walked into the bar for the first time, I was still with Clay, still telling myself I didn't deserve better. Percy was different, soft-spoken, honest, the kind of man who listened without waiting to talk. When he smiled, it didn't feel like a transaction. I remember thinking, he's everything I never knew I needed. It terrified me. Once I realized Percy was real and decent, I broke it off with Clay. Clean, clear, or so I thought. Clay didn't take endings well. The text started, then the drive-bys, then the messages that pretended to be apologies, but read like threats if you knew how to listen. I never told Percy about Clay. I was afraid if he saw the mess I came from, he'd leave. That was my first mistake. There's a tale bartenders tell each other about thirst, how people chase new things because they sparkle, not because they last. The punchline is always the same. Novelty fades, but consequences don't. I laughed every time I heard it. I didn't realize I was living it. The night everything broke open, Percy texted me that he had a surprise waiting at my place. He'd been acting nervous all week, romantic nervous. I worked late, smiling to myself between orders, imagining candles and maybe a ring. I remember a glass falling off the bar and shattering for no reason. No one touched it. I joked it was a bad omen. That was a hint of the supernatural people always ask me about later, the part I can't explain without sounding dramatic. It was like the night exhaled. When I pulled into my driveway, my porch light was on. That wasn't unusual. Percy was thoughtful like that. Inside, the house smelled odd. Not candles, not food. Something metallic and sharp. The living room lights were off, but music played low. It was an old song Clay used to love. I said Percy's name. Someone laughed. Clay stepped out of the kitchen, holding a knife I recognized from my kitchen drawer. He tied red ribbon around it like a joke. He told me Percy was on his way, that he wanted me to see how surprises work. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Percy was calling. Clay slapped it out of my hand, and it skidded under the couch. What happened next is the part the police later called a struggle. That word doesn't do it justice. Clay talked the whole time about lust, about how I thought I'd upgraded, about how men like Percy break easy. I fought with everything I had. Bar tricks, broken glass, my knees. At one point, the power went out, plunging the house into darkness so complete it felt intentional, like the walls were leaning in to watch. I was terrified. I thought I was done. Then Percy burst through the door. He didn't hesitate. Clay turned, surprised, and that half second mattered. The knife flashed. I screamed. Percy went down hard, a crimson tide dark against the floor. Something in me snapped. I grabbed a lamp and brought it down until Clay stopped moving. The sirens came. The lights came back. Percy lived. Clay did not. The official reports say self-defense, corroborated by evidence and prior harassment. People always nod at that part, like closure is a checkbox. Percy healed slower than I did. He never blamed me for not telling him. He just held my hand in the hospital and said we'd fix things together. Percy helped me fix my broken pieces and gained a few scars of his own. Sometimes, late at night, we both hear that old song when the house is quiet. The officers say it's trauma. I say maybe consequences echo. I still 10 bar. I still tell the parable about thirsting, but I don't laugh anymore because I know how easily a surprise can turn into a crime scene, how love can walk into a trap meant for you. And if you think this couldn't happen where you live, check your locks tonight, because that's exactly what I thought too. Protect your love. I am not a bad person. I am a sick person trying to get well. I've practiced that sentence the way some men practice alibis. By morning, 2 women will be calling the same detective about me. My name is Oliver DEPLACE. I'm 45. I'm a street sweeper for the city in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. I work the early shift when the streets are sticky with last night's joy and regret. I wear a reflective vest and an honest face. I nod to the bodega owners. I pick up what everyone else leaves behind. I tell people the truth for a living. Trash is trash. And then I lie to everyone I love. I didn't always know I was like this. That's the part that scares me the most. I only notice my issues sometimes, like a bad smell that fades when you get used to it. I present as a loyal paramour, but in actuality, I am wildly unserious. That sentence landed on me during a group meeting years back, and I laughed too loud because it fit too well. There's an ism in me. Call it compulsion, call it addiction. It brings guilt and shame. I mask the shame with distractions. I need therapy. I have needed it for a long time. People hear lying and cheating and think silk sheets and strangers. Sometimes it's smaller and worse. Sometimes it's the lie I tell myself to get through a shift, to feel clean while I'm making a mess. Think of a lie you tell yourself, a lie you protect, nurse, rehearse. What does it gain you, and at what cost? This is a true story, as much as stories can be true. You could pull the sanitation logs, the phone records, the precinct blotter. You could watch the body cam from the night it happened and see me standing there in my vest, my hands shaking like I was cold. That night I worked late. Crown Heights had gone quiet, the way it does when the music finally gives up. I was sweeping Eastern Parkway when my phone buzzed. A message from Kendra, then one from Aisha. I loved them both in different fonts. I told each the same story about overtime. I told each I was alone. The lies stacked neatly like fresh folded clothes. I ducked into a public bathroom to wash my hands. The mirror was cracked. My reflection looked delayed, like bad reception. When I turned my head, it didn't. I tell myself now it was exhaustion, the fluorescence. But there was a pressure in the room, a hum. I thought of something I'd heard in meetings. Some people use people like drugs, flesh-covered thrills for a fake happy boost. Problem is, it doesn't last, and then you need more and more and more and more. One is too many, and 1,000 is never enough. The mirror moved first. It smiled when I didn't. It spoke with my voice and said the lines I'd practiced. It listed my lies back to me in the order I'd told them, dates and times, like evidence. I love you too. Monday, November 17th, 6 p.m. My phone died. Tuesday, November the 18th, 12:38 a.m. She's my sister. I stepped back and slipped on water. Hit my head. When I came to, a woman was yelling for help. I had knocked over a mop bucket. There was blood, mine, and a cracked mirror, and nothing else. I went home and slept. That's the worst part. I slept. In the morning, there were voicemails. Kendra crying. Maisha furious. They had found each other through a receipt I'd left in my car. A stupid mistake. The same detective visited me twice. Kendra's brother. He was calm. He asked about my shift, my phone, my car. He asked if I'd ever felt out of control. I said no, then yes. Then I didn't know. What we don't want to change, we will never change, he said, surprising me. He told me he'd seen it before. Not demons, not curses. Men who make homes out of their habits and then act shocked when the roof caves in. He didn't arrest me. There was no crime you could hang cuffs on. Just harm, emotional damage, statements, a pattern. I lost both women. I lost myself. I kept my job because the city likes consistency and trash still needs sweeping. Nights got louder. I started seeing myself in shop windows, always a half second late, always smiling first. Here's the part that scares me into telling this straight. There was a shot at redemption that night. After the detective left, he slid a card across the table. A therapist in Bed-Stuy, a number. Do the work, he said, or don't. But don't pretend you don't know. I know. I am the antagonist of my own life. There's no monster with claws, just a man who learned how to split himself in two and call it survival. The scary part is how habits grow teeth when you feed them long enough. I still sweep. I still lie sometimes. I catch myself more now. I really am trying. I go to therapy. I confront the shame instead of hiding. When the mirrors lag, I look away. When they speak, I write it down and bring it to session. It could happen to you. It already has in smaller ways. If you're listening because you like a good scare, remember this. The scariest thing I ever met was the version of me that didn't want to change. And it's still out there, waiting for me to forget. The night I almost lost my wife, the ocean was calm, like it knew it didn't need waves to kill us. My name is HAKEEM ERICSSON, and everything about my life says I should be safe. I'm a doctor, Howard University, the real HU class of grind and grace. I still hear it like a chant in my chest. Bleachers booming with pride. HU, you know it. I'm a husband who still reaches for his wife's hand at stoplights. A father who FaceTimes his kids from on-call rooms. I'm a good brother, a son who moved from Barbados to Newark, New Jersey at 5 years old and learned early that survival is a skill you practice quietly. That's why this story still bothers me, because none of my skills prepared me for Cape Cod. Naima and I left the kids with my father, Grandpa ERICSSON, the human lie detector and snack dealer, and took what we called a romantic reset. No conferences, no pagers, just fog, seafood, and a clappered inn that looked like it had been built before secrets were illegal. The locals smiled too easily. That was the first thing. The second thing was a man at the marina who warned us not to go out after dark, then laughed like it was a joke he'd told too many times.
Tides get funny,
He said.
people get lost.
When I asked how, he shrugged.
Cape's got a way of keeping what it wants.
I'm trained to listen to tone more than words. His tone was hella suspect, but we bookmarked it and got on with our vacay. That night, Naima and I walked the beach anyway. Moon low, fog crawling in like a living thing. The lighthouse pulsed once every 10 seconds. Steady, patient, almost counting. Then we heard a woman crying. Not loud, close. Naima stopped. I pulled her back. I've worked trauma bays. I know distress calls. This one was rehearsed, like someone practicing sadness. A flashlight snapped on behind us. 3 men, local accents, boat shoes, polite faces that didn't reach their eyes. One asked if we were lost. Another asked where we were staying. The third just watched Naima. Oh, hell no. I felt something old wake up in me. Newark, bus stops, night math. Show me a liar, and I'll show you a thief, my father always said. And these men were lying with their mouths closed. They had us freaked up. We walked away. They followed. Far enough to be coincidence. Close enough to be pressure. I was preparing myself for it to get real while getting my lady to safety. When we reached the path back to the road, a truck idled with its lights off. The crying started again. This time, it was behind us and in front of us, like the sound was bouncing off the fog. Naima squeezed my hand. "Hakeem," she said quietly, "this isn't right." No kidding. I pulled out my phone. No service. The lighthouse blinked. 10 seconds. The man with the flashlight stepped closer and asked my wife if she was okay. We definitely ain't in Newark anymore. His smile was all teeth. That's when I saw the radio clip to his belt. Marine band, not police. And a tattoo on his wrist. A simple anchor. Faded, like he tried to scrub it off. I told Naima to run. She hesitated half a second too long, and the man lunged. Training takes over when fear runs out. I slammed him with my shoulder. Something in him cracked, and I heard a grunt that told me I had surprised him. The others rushed. One grabbed Naima's arm. She screamed a real scream. The crying stopped. All of it. Dead quiet, except the surf. That's when I noticed the footprints in the sand. Dozens of them, leading toward the water, then vanishing. No returns, like people had walked straight into the ocean and been erased. The man holding Naima froze. His face changed. Not fear, recognition. Like he'd heard something I hadn't. The lighthouse blinked. 10 seconds. A low horn sounded from offshore. Not a foghorn. Something smaller, closer. The men backed away, fast. The one I hit pointed at me and said,
"You didn't see nothing. You hear me?"
Then they ran to the truck, to the path. I don't know. The fog swallowed them whole. Naima and I ran until our lungs burned. We flagged down a cruiser on the main road. The officer listened, nodded, wrote nothing. Said it was probably kids messing around. Get the out of here. Said Cape Cod gets weird at night. Said we should enjoy our vacation. The next morning, the innkeeper asked how we slept. When I mentioned the crying, her smile slipped, just for a second. "Oh," she said, "that." She told us about a boating accident years ago. Unofficial, migrant workers, cash jobs, no paperwork, a storm that wasn't on any forecast, a rescue that came too late, locals who heard crying for weeks afterward, a few men who'd been helping with the rides to the docks, men who'd never been charged with anything, men with anchor tattoos. We left that afternoon. Back home, life went on. Kids, clinics, call nights. But sometimes, when I'm alone, I hear a horn where there shouldn't be one. I check the locks twice. I teach my kids to trust their instincts and their father's words. Because here's the part I can't prove. The part that makes this story dangerous to tell. I don't think the men ran from me. I think they ran because the ocean was about to collect its debt. And if you think this can happen, if you think love, degrees, and good neighborhoods protect you, remember this. The scariest thing about that night isn't that we survived. It's that someone else probably didn't. And the cape is still counting. This story is based on real events and is told to raise awareness about domestic abuse and recovery. Valentine's Day. My 1-year anniversary was 2 months ago. Love is dead. I said it into the mirror. Badge on the sink. Hands shaking. Not from joy, but from memory. The truth is, the only reason I'm alive to say it is because a man who wasn't my husband believed me when I whispered, help. My name was TEEDRA Love. I'm a police officer from Houston, Texas. I've worked unalivings, domestics, self-deletions, the quiet kind that leave houses standing but ruin families. I was trained to spot danger, to read body language, to trust evidence over emotion. And still, I married a lie. Tyson was an officer too. Same uniform, same oath, same dead eyes. When no one was watching, he used to open my door, kiss my forehead, bring me lunch on shift. About a year into our marriage, that man vanished. The replacement was crueler, colder, and allergic to accountability. He lied, cheated, gaslit me until I started questioning timestamps and my own damn sanity. He'd say,
"You're imagining things, T."
And I'd nod, demure, small, because somewhere along the line, I decided all men were walking lies, and my job was to endure them. Mama was always sad or angry. Daddy was always pleasure-seeking, looking for a good time, seeking greener grass. Ironically, Mama's green thumb was stellar. Chef's kiss, that's the pattern I grew up with. I married it. I used to be afraid of losing him. Then I realized I already did. Tyson spent his nights chasing cheap thrills, bars, women, stories that never lined up. One time he swore he was at the store. I didn't argue. I just saved the proof. GPS, time-stamped, irrefutable, of his actual location. I never showed him. Power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet and waits. I drank to quiet the waiting. At first it was a beer after shift, then shots, then nights I don't remember driving home. Sad and dangerous territory. Tyson noticed, but only to berate me. He'd leave to hang with his friends, especially Durrell. Durrell was different, solid, kind, the kind of man who listens with his eyes. One night, after too many drinks, I knew I couldn't drive. I did the responsible thing. I called my husband, no answer. I texted, called again, straight to voicemail. Later he'd say he was at his mother's house. Later I'd know he was in room 157 with some freaks. I decided to walk to my car anyway. Pride and alcohol make a dangerous cocktail. The parking lot lights flickered like they were tired of watching bad decisions. That's when I felt it. The pressure between my shoulder blades. The sense cops get when something is wrong and the radio's too quiet. Footsteps matched mine. I sped up. So did they. I reached my car and fumbled for the keys. That's when the hand grabbed my wrist. Cold, too strong, not drunk. I smelled musk and damp clothes. He leaned close and whispered my name like he'd been practicing it. I screamed. A car engine roared. Headlights flared. A door slammed.
Get away from her.
The hand released me. The lurker ran. It was Durrell. He didn't ask questions. He wrapped me in his jacket, checked my pulse, scanned the lot like a guardian. He said he'd been driving by, had a bad feeling. Call it intuition, call it grace. All I know is he saved my life, while my husband ignored his ringing phone. Later that night, Tyson finally called. I let it go to voicemail. I divorced him, quietly, cleanly, with evidence. TEEDRA Love is dead. TEEDRA Banks is back and better. Durrell encouraged me to get sober, to try therapy, to tell the truth, even when my voice shook. He never pushed. He just stood there, steady, as I took the first step. Self-love is a journey that begins with one step. A year passed. 1 year sober. 1 year of learning to sit with my thoughts without drowning them. 1 year of choosing myself. Durrell and I started dating after that. Slowly, cautiously. Hope is fragile when you've survived a storm. Tyson got fired. His lies finally caught up. He deteriorated. Angrier, louder, smaller. The kind of man who mistakes control for love. I keep a quote taped inside my locker now. To thine own self be true. Under it, in my handwriting, let them. And beneath that, true love is rooted in truth. A real man is honest. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that parking lot, about how close I came, about the shadow that knew my name, about the husband who didn't answer. And I realized the scariest thing wasn't the lurker in the dark. It was the man sleeping beside me and how long I let him. If you enjoyed the video, press that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. Stay tuned for more great stories.